Today we're going to take a look at using Baton to integrate with GitHub. First, let's look at the available configuration options. You can specify the instance URL, which defaults to github.com, what organizations you'd like to sync, and you must provide a personal access token used to connect to the GitHub API. So let's run a sync. By default, we've not specified any organizations, so this is going to pull all of the resources, entitlements, and grants for any organization that the provided token has admin access to. Once this sync completes, we'll be able to introspect the local state and understand exactly what organizations it pulled the data for. Now that this is completed, we can use the C1Z tool to list all of the resources that are of type org. And we can see that it actually pulled the data for 4 different organizations. Moving forward, let's only sync the C1 test integration. So we will rerun the sync, but specifying just that single organization. This should run a little bit quicker because we're only pulling the data for that one org. Now that this is complete, we can use the C1Z tool to introspect all of the data that we've just pulled, including all of our resources, what entitlements those resources have, and who has been granted those entitlements. We can also see what's changed between this sync and the previous sync using the diff command. By default, this outputs all of the diff data as a large JSON blob. To understand this more easily, we can use a tool like JQ to introspect that JSON state. So let's rerun diff and pipe it to JQ, and let's look at just the resources that have been deleted since our last run. Remember, we removed those 3 organizations from our sync, so we'll see lots of resources for those different organizations having been removed. Great. Now, let's try changing something in the org that we actually care about. So we can see here I have a test repo on the C1 test integration org. Let's go ahead and add a new team to have access to this. So I'm going to add the Jerwin team, and let's give the Jerwin team admin access. All right, that's complete. So now let's jump back and rerun our sync using Baton. This again is going out fetching all of the permission and entitlement details, and it should pick up that we have assigned that team to our new repo. So like before, we can use the C1Z tool to understand the actual output of our diff. So I'm going to paste a command here. And this command is piping the diff data into JQ, and we're looking at any new grants that are created, and then we're selecting on a specific entitlement ID, which happens to be admin access to the repository that is in question. And then from there, we're just going to output the display name of any of those users. So let's run this, and we can see that the Jerwin team was granted admin access to this role, as well as the Jerluz user. We can go back again, remove this access from the team, rerun our sync, and if we use that same command from before but changed created here to deleted, we should see that the Jerwin team and the Jerluz user removed admin rights on that repository. We can also take the current state, which lives within a database on disk here. We can use the C1Z utility to export that into a more friendly format like a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and run C1Z export CSV, and this should generate for us a new CSV file that we can use something like Pretty CSV to take a look at. And from here we can see all of the same data that we've been talking about available in the C1Z or in a CSV format to be used anywhere else. And that is using Baton with GitHub. Thank you.